Welcome to Surf World. On behalf of all the volunteers and the board, I'm Bushy Mitchell, Tommy Wegener, Roger Hall, Mike Connor and Grant.
I think they were, years ago, extremely advanced surfing, and this summer, or the last northern summer, I was traveling through Europe, and wherever I went, people pulled out of their garage, they said, "Oh, we used to ride these a long time ago." And I thought, this is the most beautiful surfboard, because, well, you take it, and you put your hands here, and all of a sudden you have complete control of a rocker, and if you push down and get reverse rocker, it's like pushing down on the accelerator. It's just one of the many things in surfing that has been lost, completely lost on our generation, except for George Greenough. It was made in 1940, it's from the UK, and it's the Crest, and it's called Ride the Crest, and it's the new lightweight model. And of course they flex. If they don't flex, they don't work. Like, it's all about the flex, and the ancient Hawaiians could ride anything. This is a stand-up board, and those little ones are definitely lay down. This board will ride anything. This surfboard will. And David Rostovich rode it at Waimea Bay and Pipeline and every place. Like, this little board, the ancient Hawaiians were surfing really, really well. They understood things like flex, something that's been lost to us, and they knew all about it. Went to King Island and was surfing with Tom Carroll, and we'd go to the amazing little session. He took out an Alea, and he just went out there and just basically ate shit, and just didn't, we were just kind of going, oh no, he's just going to come in and he comes in and he just goes, oh my God, I just had an affair with a surfboard. I said, what? He goes, it flexes. And I go, really? And he goes, I felt this board, and I came off the bottom, and how the board flexed and it pulled up the wave, and he just got these very short rides, but he just goes, flex, flex. It's been the elephant in the closet all along. Nobody ever thinks about flex with your foam thruster, your foam surfboard, because with a fin setup, you want to get rid of flex. You want them to be stiff, for the most part. Where actually flex is a very important part of a surfboard, and that's one of the many things we've lost. By going to foam and so forth, we've lost these little intricacies that wood has to offer. The Alea is the fastest board, and the reason it's the fastest board is because, man, if you slow the film down, it just kind of crackles and should go across the wave, just like this. And then Greenough and Bob McTavish always say, well, the fastest thing on the water is a mat. And then, of course, you watch George at Wategos, and he's screaming across waves, and it's because the board flexes and it just kind of moves like that. And and I've taken still frames where an Alea is just bending like that, and then like that, and then like that as it's going across the wave, and it's the most darndest thing you've ever seen. The only problem with the Alea is it's the most difficult board to ride as well. I use Boatcraft Pacific, the yellow polyurethane foaming glue, and the stuff is great. The foaming glue is the best. It flexes, bends. You just got to have good glue joints and lots of clamps. Even shorter. Yeah, if you're a good surfer, just overhead high is all you need. I went to the Bishop Museum in Hawaii in 2004, and just because I make wood surfboards, I know mostly make 12-footers and nose riders and everything out of wood. And I saw those boards, and I just couldn't believe it, because they were so well shaped that any woodworker would look at those boards and just go, oh, that's incredible. How did they do it? So, and every board was like a custom, where you could really see the craftsmanship. So I came back and I started copying them, and then reading up and looking at the little diagrams and things, and figuring out what they were doing. And we figured it out, because the ones in the museum are pretty long, but actually when the first writers that talk about boards, they all say, oh no, they're only about this tall, they don't need to be long. And then the most influential picture is the guy that's in front of Waikiki, standing there like this, and that's where all of my boards kind of came from his. I figured out what his dimensions of his board, and worked off that, and sure enough they work best. Be a good surfer and be fit. And, well, I'll go into the next thing, which is, for those of us that maybe we're great surfers, but we're still not that fit, I've been endlessly working on this shape, which is a board that'll feel like an Alea. It doesn't flex, so you have all sorts of problems. And basically my whole life, the last couple of years, have been to try to figure out how to make a thick board that'll surf like an Alea, because I love the Alea so much. But I'm just getting too old to paddle onto waves for that. And so always, if you make them out of wood, first, and you've made them out of foam and stuff. But this board ride's good. They finally have got it, and it's about putting the concave in. With this board, God, these things are hard to make. They're really complex. And to get all that roll in the bottom there, I steamed it. And for those of you that, if ever steaming Polonia, it steams really well. I couldn't believe it. I just made I took 2 old pieces of plywood, made a box out of it, an oil can, and put a hose into it, boiled the water, and pulled out the wood a half hour later, and it was Ben Diaz. It just really worked well. Roger, do you steam wood?
I haven't yet, but something I'm aspiring to.
Yeah, Polonia steam's real easy. I couldn't believe it.
How thick is the skins on that?
The skins are 8 millimeters thick, and the side is 12 millimeters thick, and then inside there it's like an airplane wing. There's the regular sort of stuff on the inside of it. And then again with the Polonia, it's so nice because you don't have to glass it. And because if you're building boards, wear a mask because I can't be around resin anymore. I've become sensitized to it, and once you do that, God, you just wish that you want to go there and fix a ding, and the resin just stinks. So if you have kids and so forth, make sure they wear a mask. There's so many boards. The other board that came back from Hawaii was the Olo, and the whole concept of the Olo is has anybody in here ridden an Olo? Okay, it's the King's board. It's the chiefs and the kings rode the Olos, and the commoners could never ride an Olo unless they were extremely good at surfer, and they're 16 feet long, they're heavy, but wow, do they surf well. And I'm lucky that I have David Rostovich, and I always talk about him because he rides my boards the best. And I've made one for myself, and then he rode it, and he said, okay, I want one of those, and he rides it a lot now. So there's a whole other world out there. I mean, that's where the wood is so exciting because you're not stuck to the designs. Whatever pops into your head, you can make it. Where with foam, you're limited. You have to get the foam blank, Where with wood, you can go long, especially, I like long. My favorite boards are 16 feet. I love the long toothpicks and so forth. And you'll see a few guys riding it, but that's, I prefer riding those, but these are just exciting as well. There's so much that wood has to offer.
What's the longest board you've made?
I made an 18-footer. Has anybody seen, there's a big guy that rides it sometimes out of the alley?
Yes,
Cameron, yeah. He said, well, how long can you make a board? And I said, well, let's try 18 feet. And sure enough, it's 6.5 inches thick. And,
He's a big man.
And 3 of us, but you can, it serves just fine. As a matter of fact, I won a heat at the Crescent Head contest on it. Like it really, you can come up and turn it. If you've got a thick tail and your fin is pegged right on the tail and you got a bit of rocker, man, you can have a lot of weight and the board will just always come around like that. It's so big that 3 of us can actually catch a wave on it, no problem.
Is it solid? Is it?
No, it's hollow. It's very hollow. But even so, like when you go that long, you've really gotta. That's where the great craftsmanship comes in. At that length of a board, everything has to be perfect. Because the pressures are unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I'm putting together some old toothpicks and refurbishing them and seeing how they were put together and what Bill Wallace and what the other guys did to make them. And it's really exciting, how they did it. Okay, I'll say one last little story. With wood. Down in the Manly Beach, there's a surf museum. And there's Bluey Mays' board. Has anybody seen that board down there? And it's at the Manly Surf Club. And it's his board. You look at the photos, and he swears up and down that this was the board he rode most of all. And he made it back in the days when you couldn't get plywood except from tee boxes. And the tee boxes were only 4 feet long, so you can get pieces of 4 feet pieces of ply, and it was really thin, maybe 3 millimeters thick. And Bluey, when he made this board, he laminated them together with crappy glue. And then he put stringers in it, and there must be 10 stringers. I just know that, running from nose to tail on a 16-foot board, and the wall on on it must be maybe 8 millimeters thick in the bottom. And he rode that board for about 20 years. It's still in mint condition, and it's as light as a feather. And that is just the most amazing surfboard. Like that, that's a whole world in itself of what he did on those surfboards. And the craftsmanship of those guys, of Wallace, and what they knew about surfboards was spectacular. They really did amazing stuff.